Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and we're moving now into our second segment, our second conversation. Now, this one is very, very important for you to listen to. 1 week ago, like we were mentioning, Hurricane Lisa barreled to Central America, barreled across central Belize, and devastated most of what we've got here in the central part of our country, especially here in Belize City. When things like that happen, April, what happens is that schools are used for as hurricane shelters, but also some schools were devastated. They got compromised, and there must be relief efforts in those areas. But the Ministry of Education is saying, you know what, we missed 2 years. We missed 2 years of school. The kids are behind. They must find a way. Yes, there must be a way that we could get them back in school. The B.N.T.U is saying, hey, we don't feel that way because some teachers actually lost some stuff. And it will be out of teachers' pockets that we need to fix what we need to fix in the school areas. Is that so? So we've got the folks in to talk to us about it. Tanya Flowers Gillett is the president of the Belize branch of B.N.T.U. Arlette Bevans Mossiah, vice president, Belize branch, B.N.T.U. And Ruth Shoman, she's on Zoom. She's the national secretary for the B.N.T.U. Ladies, good morning ladies. And welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
We've heard about the odds that the B.N.T.U. are in with the Ministry of Education, especially here central, the Belize district. Let's talk about that. The feel from the B.N.T.U. with respect to having to go back to classes, even though things are the way that they are. Is the ministry correct? Is B.N.T.U. correct? What's the situation at this point? Ms. Shoman?
Okay, I'm glad you asked the question that way, because I think those are the types of questions that lead us to all the wrong paths. This is not about who is correct. I think we have lost vision on what we should be focusing on, and those are our students and our teachers. There is no right or wrong answer here or right or wrong path. There's one path, and that's the only path that would be beneficial for our students and our teachers. And when we talk about we are behind, we tend to blame only the pandemic. There are so many factors that have led our children to not be at the level that they are, that they should be. And one of the factors that we tend to still talk about it, but we seldom do anything about it, is our trauma. And the Belize district, sadly enough, is one of those districts that has a lot of schools with children who have traumas, teachers who experience trauma on a daily basis. Yet we talk about it, we spend loads of money on workshops and on fancy speeches on stages, but when the actual work is needed, it does not happen. One of the points that B.N.T.U. stressed on, I was present at that meeting, and as a matter of fact, I was the one who brought up that point, that we need to take this week to work on the mind, work on the soul, so that when we start next week, we can be fully engaged to work on the content, the curriculum. How can we expect normal classes to begin after such a traumatic event? Our teachers are not robots. Our students are not robots that they can be programmed and just sit in a class and start. The fundamental problem here is that we still have the mindset that we teach subjects and that we don't teach children.
So how do you
change that mindset? So our points during this meeting on Saturday were that we were supposed to allow teachers who were severely impacted by the hurricane to remain at home, try to fix whatever needed to be fixed, and then report to school as soon as that is over and start cleaning up. Then that would give the other teachers who weren't severely impacted to go to school, start the cleaning up process. This week should have had teamwork resonating. Had we looked at it from that angle, that everybody helps everybody else, which is what we're seeing. We're seeing countrywide people coming together to help. But when we have a notice that's saying you must do this by da da da, it kills the spirit, and it makes a human being feel that I don't matter. What I'm going through does not matter. What matters is that I must complete the curriculum, which has been the mindset of those in authority for many, many, many years. Let's finish a curriculum without thinking about, it's not about completing a curriculum, but it is about developing a human being the best possible way. And I think that's the focus that we should be having during this week. That's the conversation. There's no correct on who's correct and who's wrong. This is about human beings who we want to, you know, just hold on to and create the best possible students we can. How can we do that under these circumstances? This is where we ask that managements pull in their resources. We have managements most of them are connected to churches, and the government one has the human development. This is the time when we should have seen the churches coming in from the other districts, pulling all resources for counselors, for mentorship, and bringing in these people during this week, helping the children. Let's find places. I'm pretty sure we could have found places around the city where we can gather students, have sessions to build their minds, to heal their soul. This week should have been a healing week, not normal classes.
Ms. Shoman, I'm hearing your passion. I'm hearing the passion that you've got with respect to your profession. I'm hearing the passion that you've got with respect to your love for people and education. Now, what you just mentioned was, by any means, did you mention such thing to the ministry or those in authority? And what was their response?
We did. This was one of the points that was discussed with the Minister Fonseca. And I must say that he was very receptive, and he agreed completely with us. And that's why we were taken aback when the memo came out, because in that meeting, actually we didn't disagree with anything. The points that B.N.T.U brought on the press release we made, those were the same points that we spoke to the minister about. And there was never a point where, oh no, I don't agree with this, or no, it was a very productive meeting, a meeting where he was very receptive. And for the first time I felt, because I've been in many, many meetings with the ministry, and there's always some form of tension, but this time it was, you know, it carried the spirit of what we're seeing countrywide, where it's real collaboration, it's real teamwork. And we left that meeting, or at least I left that meeting, feeling a sense of happiness, because I'm saying we are going to get this done 1 week, to pull together all our resources. Let's help. It's about help. It's about healing. It's about teamwork. We're going to get this done. Come Monday, we can now focus on curriculum.
So, Ms. Shoman, where did the miscommunication go? Because I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. At what point do you think that the miscommunication went wrong? Because we observed the memo from B.N.T.U, and then there was another memo that came out, I think, shortly after, that gave like a list with schools and the dates that they were supposed to return back to their classrooms. So where did that miscommunication happen?
Yeah, let's hear from Miss Ruth.
Sure. All right. Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Shoman.
Okay. Truthfully, we're still at a loss when it comes to that, because the agreement was that the memo would have come out as quickly as possible. And when we noticed that Sunday came and there's no memo, the president then decided, let's contact the minister, let's find out what's happening. And he did say, okay, it's coming out shortly. And so when their memo came out, it was What? So we are wondering if something transpired, and I don't want to sit here and assume, because that's going to be a poor judgment on my part. We just know that what was agreed upon, you know, as two very important stakeholders in education, what we agreed upon was not reflected in the memo. Parts of it, if you sit and try to interpret, but overall, it did not match the discussion we had. And it goes back to what our teachers keep telling us, and it has nothing to do with which color or which administration. In general, there's this mistrust that if we don't get things in black and white, we don't believe. You know, but the circumstances under which we were on Saturday didn't allow us to sit and have a letter and sign. And, you know, there has to be that trust between these two partners that when we agree verbally on something, that it ought to be carried out. And it's not that we're asking for a holiday. When we weren't asking for special treatment, we were asking that we work together, that we be considerate, that we understand that our teachers are in need to heal and to put themselves together before they can walk into a classroom and heal the little ones themselves.
So the memo that the ministry took out with the list of schools that had the dates and so forth, that was not what was agreed upon?
No. We didn't agree on a list at that meeting. The meeting was on a general perspective. We said that we have been getting pictures and first accounts from teachers, and Sister Tanya can speak more on that. But in the meeting, it was more at a general level where we were saying, based on the reports that we're getting, those teachers who have been severely impacted, give them the time without having to sign UPAs and having salary deductions. It's not a time to talk about salary deductions or some sort of penalty. Give them the time to put their homes together. And then the other teachers who are not, then let's do this as a team. So I don't know where the ball fell at the ministry level. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but it fell.
All right. I want to bring the conversation back to our ladies here in studio. Miss Tanya and Miss Arlette, can you give us an overview of what the teachers, particularly in the Belize district, Belize City, and the rural areas, have been confessing and have been updating you all ladies on?
Well, we've been collecting information after the storm from our teachers who were severely affected. Some lost their entire homes, some lost many things inside their homes, their roof. Some don't even have a place to go and lay their heads. And we've had a list, and even last night we were still getting information because some of our teachers are just getting back electricity and internet, so they couldn't reach out to us. But that list was due from Sunday for ministry, so we submitted that list, but we're still getting information as we speak. So we just have to be adding. But our teachers are severely affected, and on Sunday I had 65 plus teachers on that list already. Wow. And these teachers are severely affected.
But they have to go to work.
Well, in the meeting, our national team informed us that the agreement was, if you're severely affected, you stay at home and try pull yourself and your family together. If you're not affected, severely affected like myself, I could go to school, clean up, do what I need to do, get permission from my principal and go and help another sister school. Let's work together, start the cleaning, get the work done together.
Who would initially pay for
the cleanup process?
Because you have cleaning up campaigns happening right now in and around the city, and that is being fostered by the city council and so forth. So,
but in these schools, I mean, you provide your own things to clean.
So this is out of teachers' salary.
So there is nobody assisting you all with the cleanup?
Not that we know of. Okay. We're not aware of getting any assistance. Well, we know the fire engine was at Wesley and one at
Calvary
Calvary Temple. They were trying to
clean the debris and so forth. Okay.
Washing out the mud.
But primarily, the teachers that for schools that were not, you know, completely damaged and so forth, it's teachers that would go in and
yes,
do the
teachers
cleaning.
are cleaning, and some parents come in and assist.
So when it comes to, we've discussed the memo, we've discussed what's happening. When it comes to what parents are asking for in terms of the kids going back to school and returning, how do you advise the parents that perhaps their homes were not severely damaged? They have to go back to work. They want their kids to go back to school. Is there any talks or conversations about, for those kids, how can they receive some kind of content for learning while the teachers are cleaning up?
We visited Trinity on Monday, and we saw some kids outside in the hallway, some other ones in another class, all different ages, because not everybody is back at school.
Right.
So if you're not severely affected, I believe that parents are sending back these students.
Yeah.
But what are they doing?
Yeah.
The entire class is not there. As a teacher, why would I teach a new content if all my students are not there?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel at this particular point too, with respect to with respect to the syllabus and all these things, some people might go ahead of some, and then some are actually stayed behind. But because Arlette, you know, this thing, man. So Arlette, you know, from your perspective, what's your thoughts, your feel at this point? And I feel it's important because the ministry need to understand or need to listen, just like B.N.T.U should listen and try to understand or come to some kind of compromise with the Ministry of Education. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we understand that the students need their education, but it's not a one-way street. We need to understand the teachers as well. For instance, the principal of Wesley Lower School, her house was completely damaged. Her TV, her sofa, everything was gone for her, but she was there from right after the all clear. She was there along with other teachers trying to help and so forth, trying to get their school in order. So the teachers are not saying that we want a holiday, and it's not that. We don't want a holiday, but we need to compose ourselves as well.
I think that is where, based on what I'm hearing, that is where the miscommunication is, because for certain parts of Belize that were not severely damaged, right? Kids are going back to school, and so there is this divide. It would seem that you have some kids that are ready, that are capable, and then you have some that are not. So I understand that teachers can't. That's not my point. I think that I'm trying to figure out where we're going to go in terms of the level of education that is being provided. And I asked the question because yes, Miss Ruth is absolutely right. Things were already not that great before COVID, and then the pandemic came, and then all of these other trickle effects of disasters. But I think my general point is that when you go back to the classroom, right, is there a plan for how you're going to tackle the rest of the term? Because you're already losing 2 weeks, and then the term ends in December, and then you go right back in January. Like, is there a plan? And I think that is what parents that are trying to get their kids back into school want to know. Fine, we're helping you all out, but what happens thereafter? How do we bounce back?
Well, actually, the first cycle ends on November the 11th.
Right.
Yeah, that's this coming.
This Friday, right?
So,
yes.
We know that, so we are going to try our best as soon as we go back to try to fill in as much as we could for the students who have actually missed out. And because teachers are resilient, I know one school in particular where about 10 of their teachers were actually out because they were severely affected. And they went to school today. They went back today because the principal had told them that some of their children came in, and so they felt so bad for the children. So it's not like we don't want to. we're trying our best, and we're getting pulled this way and pulled that way, but we're trying our best as much as we can.
Right.
Yeah, but maybe that is the point the Ministry of Education is trying to push out.
Right.
In terms of, all right, we have this conversation with B.N.T.U. We missed so many times, 2 years. Yes, we did online classes, but did it really work? And then now, we just got a hurricane, but these kids need to go back to school. Was there any conversation with B.N.T.U. and the Ministry of Education in terms of how do we curtail for that particular time?
Sister Shoman,
remember too that there has been a change in the curriculum,
Right.
and many schools are piloting that new curriculum, which also requires that teachers teach for half an hour more every day. And so the time as we know it is changing and has changed for some schools already.
Yeah.
And it's not as easy
absolutely not.
to discuss and to say this is what will be the best situation.
Yeah.
Because, it's not until you're a teacher and you're in the classroom that you can really understand and create situations and the best possible scenarios for students to be the best receptive students to the content being shared. Because we can say we'll have the children up to 7 o'clock tonight, but are they really learning?
Yeah.
Are they exhausted? But we will feel good administratively because we can come out and say publicly, oh, but we're giving an extra hour, an extra wasted hour because children are no longer listening. They're tired. So what is it that we can do?
Right.
That's a very good conversation that, it's sad that there's a culture that has been built over the years where the minute you hear B.N.T.U. or unionism on a whole, you hear, oh, there comes the enemy. When we are stakeholders, at the end of the day, if we are really true to ourselves, if we sit in the room and we dig deeply as to what each person's objective is, we would all know that it's our children, our teachers, our schools, but yet somehow, because of other factors, we get pulled in different directions. I think it's high time we all collectively, all stakeholders sit in that room and be true to our children, be true to our teachers, and come up with ideas that are really going to work, and not just put a band-aid or for any particular reason make it look good.
I 100% agree with you there, Ms. Shoman. And so therefore comes the question, because I really like that you said thinking about the children. One of the things that I think we all forget is that the B.N.T.U. is the voice of the student and of the child that is learning. And I guess as parents and as members of society, one of the first things that we think about in the aspect of education is how does it affect the child? How does it affect the student? And I think that we miss the point about when teachers strike, the trickle effect is if there is not a teacher in the classroom, there is no learning taking place, right? And so maybe, and this is just my 2 cents, right? Maybe that is where the mindset of the ministry goes. If there is no teacher in the classroom, the kids are not learning. So how do you then come to a compromise, Ms. Shoman, about how we're able to get the teachers to where they need to be so that they could be the best versions of themselves so that they can teach the child in the classroom? How do we balance that out then? Because everybody is losing right now. The teachers are losing and the kids are losing and the ministry is losing. So then how do we all?
And this is where we need to have more open conversations. And as a teacher, I can tell you, are we really losing? Are the children really not learning? There's the hidden curriculum we don't like to talk about. We like to talk about the subject-verb agreement and the algebra and arithmetic. But to build a very productive human being requires learning of various aspects. And I can tell you as a teacher, just right now, this week, I have students who are now professionals who are reaching out to me because we are doing a drive to help those in need, who would tell me, Miss, if there's one thing I learned from you, is that you stand up for those who can't stand for themselves. And that's when I realized, because I have been out of the classroom, I had left them, but that's what they learned. And today they're standing up for someone else. So did they lose time? No. And you see, we need to stop this mindset that a strike is so negative. A strike develops people's heart, people's mind, people's intelligence at a different level. It opens people's eyes. So first, I would like to address that. The second, when it comes to how do we create a balance? We create a balance when we involve those who are in the classroom facing these situations when we're making decisions. And not just use the word consultation freely. We use the word consultation. In fact, I can tell you, in a meeting with ministers and the high, not the current one, but we've been told, oh, we don't want to hear that we are not consulting, because consulting means that we come and inform you of what we're doing. So we have to change this whole ego and this whole, we don't play politics with our children.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's been happening.
So
we need a balance that gets rid of politics.
So I want to
let's look at our children. Let's look at our teachers, because you see, it's a trickle effect.
Yeah, it is.
If we create big, beautiful policies for our children, it impacts our teachers perfectly.
Yeah.
Because our teachers are the ones who have to be dealing with all this nonsense that comes down to our children, all the curriculum and content, and our teachers are overwhelmed. And at the end of the day, the teachers have to be standing in front of a classroom, being appraised for delivering a content that they know is not working, because the children need to heal before they can learn.
Before they can learn. And you know what? Totally right. We hear you.
Yeah.
We do hear you. And I wish the ministry was actually here as well, so they could
can
answer
have
some
this
of these questions.
yeah.
Because primarily, when it comes to education or teaching children, it's not only about the ministry. It's about both parties. As a matter of fact, and the parents play a big role in making sure that their children are prepared to learn. So and we're totally out of time, though. We're totally out of time.
And I guess final question for our ladies here that are in the Belize district. What are the plans for you all moving forward here, since most of the damages were done here?
Well, presently we know some schools have resumed already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since Monday, some are resumed today, some will be resuming tomorrow, and then we have some that will resume on Monday. So we're still looking at other schools that need assistance and try to ask teachers who are finished with their cleaning to try and assist others
with respect to cleaning and whatnot.
Right.
And with their principal's permission, of course.
And because I see we use the word at odds here with the Ministry of Education. Is there any other steps that will be taken with respect to having the conversation, Ms. Shoman, between the B.N.T.U and the ministry?
Well, right now we are focusing on trying to get assistance for our teachers. We need to focus on our teachers, because obviously the teachers, again, were left behind by the ministry in their consideration. So right now our focus is trying to see how best we as an organization can assist our teachers so that they can move forward. So we are planning to figure out how we can best help with this healing process, since the time was not allotted to them. And we encourage our teachers. The agreement remains that you stay home if you need to do so. We have to not work in fear, act in fear. We know what we need to do. Let's do it. We know in our hearts that we love our children and we will do everything we can for our children, but we cannot do so if we can't take care of ourselves first. So teachers who are still dealing with a home that has been severely damaged, stay home, deal with that, and things will come to place. We will protect our teachers, because it is the right thing to do. So teachers who need the time, they are to take the time. We know that teachers are not vacationing and going to resorts this week. Our teachers are broken, and we need to do our best to help our teachers the best way we can. So we encourage our teachers, stay home if you need to, so that you can come with a better heart, a better soul, a better mind on Monday.
Ruth Shoman, National Secretary of the B.N.T.U, Arlette Bevans, Mossiah, and Tanya Flowers Gillett from the Belize branch of the B.N.T.U. We want to thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Great conversation. We need to have an extended conversation on this, of course, with the ministry as well. So these questions can be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you too.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you know, it was a week ago that Lisa barreled through central Belize, and we're still dealing with it. During this hurricane, we lost homes, we lost businesses, we lost a lot of stuff. But people want to be able to rebuild. How do you do that? We'll have folks from the Association of Professional Architects of Belize to tell us exactly what to do. Stay with us, we'll be right back.